What's up, family? This is your girl, Drika Shine, here, coming to you live with another episode of Life with Shine podcast. Welcome in, listeners. Welcome in, viewers. For those who are watching this video, I am so thrilled to be able to bring this message forward, especially after the experiences I have had regarding the message that I'm going to be bringing forth today. Okay, so bottom line is this is all about waiting and knowing how to wait. And the interesting thing about this is when God gave me this message to deliver to the people, I was like, okay, I'm going to deliver this message. And I honestly, for the first time recording it, because this is my second time recording this particular episode, this particular topic. And the first time that I recorded it, it was a very, very powerful message. I mean, it really did hit on some key points. And I could just feel the essence of truth coming through. Okay. And as you all know, this is life with Shine. So we got to be able to talk about life and I would say, challenges that life can bring, and also put things in a perspective, right? Seeing things from a higher perspective that will shift or change how you view the world and others. So essentially, this podcast is my goal is to shift how we view things, right? Like we want to be able to have the conversations. We want to be able to talk about things from many different angles and viewpoints. And so knowing how to wait came with me actually experiencing waiting and actually the essence of waiting and gathering enough information around waiting and how I view waiting, right? Because that's essentially what this essence is all about in this journey that we're on in life, in love, in business, right? Just really understanding those times when God is requiring us to wait and being able to really acknowledge this and see this, I feel is very important to how we navigate that time or that period of waiting. So I said it all to say the first time that I recorded this topic, I went to go and rewatch it and literally no sound. All right, guys, this is new to me right now. Like, so you guys are seeing not only my uh journey of life, entrepreneurship journey, but you're also seeing me embark on a new journey uh through this podcast because not only is this requiring me to use more of my voice, um a lot of times, I express myself and my art through writing, right? Through my content. And even when I do certain videos, it hasn't really been um really much voice overs, right? It hasn't been my actual voice. So even in this journey of me using my voice and coming into this voice of my own, right? Just expressing in this way and expressing my art in this way, it's it's just a new thing, and I'm excited that it's here because it's something that I've known for quite some time. And and how it comes about, or how it came about, all I could do is say that it came naturally, meaning I didn't rush myself into something. I just allowed things to naturally unfold, to go through the certain experiences that I need to have so that I can effortlessly and confidently host a podcast. Okay. So I said all to say to be able to trust the journey, trust the journey. Okay. So when I discovered that this first episode of Knowing How to Wait, that first one that I recorded, and it had no sound, no audio, the video, everything is on point, the message on point, everything on point. Okay. Your girl on point. All right. So to see that this content that I created was really used as a conduit to my message, my growth, and my evolution, because that was a learning curve, right? And so oftentimes, and I spoke about this in my stories because I announced the episode being aired and featuring on my YouTube. I announced it in my stories on Instagram. And so I had to come back to Instagram to let them know that yes, I did record the video. Yes, I will keep the video up because um it still is very useful. So even if it has no sound, just the message is still very, very powerful. And so I had to let it be known, the audio is not there. There is no there, you can't hear it. But, you know, but you can receive it. You can receive it. So, with that being said, here we are again attempting at the knowing how to wait, right? And just really giving you live examples and showing you guys on what uh the true things or essence, I would say, the true essence behind entrepreneurship in life, in business, right? Because this is reality. This is very much so reality. Because the very first time, most times, if you're paying attention, you're learning something. When you're doing something new, you're learning. So you got to look at mistakes or things that, you may have done, I would say, imperfectly, right? As a blessing. You got to see it as a blessing because there's something there that you now can say, I've experienced this. Now this has been brought to my awareness. Now I'm more aware that there was a problem. And now I can use my mind to think of a solution, to problem solve, right? To critically think, to come up with a new way of doing something. And that's simply what it is. It's just coming up with a new way of doing something so that you can be more mindful of when and why you're doing things, right? Why you're doing things. You can kind of have that experience to say, now I'm more aware. Now I can use that to go into this thing again with more confidence, more understanding, more knowledge, and then it turns into wisdom, more wisdom. So all of those things come into play when we're talking about life and business. So, what is waiting all about? And I had to sit here and, you know, think about the time we're in and why God is leading me to deliver this message about waiting. But most importantly, and we're going to get into more about what waiting looks like, but this is about knowing, okay? This is about knowing how to wait. You see, because there is a gift in waiting. There is a gift in waiting. As someone who has been through, you know, experiences where I've had to literally sit down and wait, right? Through situations and circumstances that were beyond my own control. As y'all know, the first episode of Life with Shine is titled God is in Control. God is in control. God is in control. So when you are in agreement with this, that God is in control, and you've surrendered to this knowing, knowing is something that just is a truth that you embodied. You know something, you know it, which means that there is no doubt, there is nothing but belief. So that means you believe. When you know something, you believe. There is a belief. Okay. So when you knowing something and you're knowing how to wait, that means that you are believing that God is going to do what God said he's going to do. That means you believe that God is going to do what he said he's going to do. So when it comes to knowing how to wait and knowing that you're not in control, right? Then now you can rest. There's a rest in that. There's a safety in that. That's a security in that. You can rest in the fact that everything is happening exactly how it's supposed to happen, and in the exact way that it's supposed to happen, and in the timing that it's supposed to happen. And so this message is important because we are often called to wait, especially those who are on a spiritual path and who's stepping more up in their leadership, who's really, really honing their gifts and their skills and their abilities. And God is really training you and conditioning you and raising you up and maturing you, and you're developing wisdom. That's knowing. There's a knowing there. There's knowing you're there's a lot of waiting. And so I said that because, you know, even in the example of the experience that God took me through, brought me through, guided me through, showed me through, that was a test of my waiting, my ability to be patient, right? So when you know how to wait, you're not trying to control anything. You're not trying to manipulate anything. It just is what it is. It's like, you kind of adapt to the reality that things simply is what it is, and then you learn how to navigate what is as it is, and you don't need the conditions to determine your faith, your belief, your knowing that everything is working out for you. See, this is when you get into this deep, deep appreciation for the things that God really has brought you through. And God is showing you that I was with you the whole time. Because I don't know about you guys, but I have been in some situations, some circumstances, okay, that required me to wait. And I just had to really just accept the experience that I was going through or having, knowing that there must be a reward of something, right? There must be some promise or blessing or something on the other side of it, because it always is. So your ability to really just lean into your trust, because that's what waiting is. It's an element of trust, right? When you're able to trust God and follow instructions and be obedient, there is peace in that. And so my thing is just let your peace be enough, right? Because knowing how to wait, you know, it leads me to the fact that many times in my journey, I've just had to wait. I've had to wait for my time. I've had to wait for, and let me be very, very clear that when you're waiting, that doesn't always mean you're actually doing nothing. Because yes, a part of waiting is resting. A part of waiting is being still. A part of waiting is, um, you know, um, maybe even sitting or standing, right? We're all familiar with that type of waiting. But also, waiting is really you actually doing things that that's required of you in the present moment. Like really being able to be as present as possible, that will allow you to make the choices and decisions that are necessary in order for you to have the experiences and create and also learn, right? So this is a level of motion. This is you actually making moves. You actually, making choices and decisions. And then your choices and decisions are going to lead you to an outcome. The how and the when, That's something I always say. That's not your concern. That's not something you should really be concerned about. Because things are moment to moment. So handle things from a moment to moment basis. Things change moment to moment. So, moment to moment, if you're in the moment, you can actually make those choices by being present, checking in with yourself. What do you need to do? What is required? You know, what what do you need? What direction to go? And then that will actually build momentum, and that will actually compound to results over time. And that's something that we have to calculate and analyze when it comes to knowing how to wait. Sometimes waiting is just listening. Sometimes waiting is just listening. I mean, think about it. How often are you able to just listen? No distractions, just tuning in and listening. Because sometimes you may just want to, get your point across, or sometimes you just want to share something, but sometimes it ain't even about that. Are you able to tune in with your truth and your body and what is required for the moment to see? Y'all, it's just crazy because I remember when I was required, like me and my dude, like, we had got into uh a disagreement, and I literally just had to hear him out, right? I had to just listen. I had to look and listen, observe, watch. Right? And this is actually when we first started talking. And so what happened was, instead of me actually, what did I say, escalating the situation with, I got to get my point across, or I got to get this out. And God knows I ain't perfect. God knows I ain't perfect. But guess what? Instead of me doing that, I just listened and I waited it out. I waited until, I don't know how long. I know he calculated the hours it was. But I just listened. I just observed, and I just was doing what I was supposed to do. Meaning, I wasn't just sitting there idly, even though I was, but I still actually was listening to God's instructions and following them. So when you think about that, it's really like waiting. It's like, are you listening? Are you even paying attention? Are you observing? Are you following instructions? Are you being obedient? Because that's what God requires of us when He's navigating us through situations. That's what God requires of us, to be able to listen. So, by design, my goal is to really, really share more of my journey, the human experience, God, life, love, business, all of those things. Like this is really an open conversation here, because at the end of the day, we got to really, really be able to hold space for one another, right? We're building a community here. And I want to be able to express what this is all about. Like, where the pretty much laying a solid foundation so that as we navigate this journey, we will be able to know how to and this is funny because this is a word that my dude used, travail. We will know how to really travail, right? We will know how to travail. We will know how to be patient. We will know how to be in tune and in touch with ourselves to do what is required in each given moment. So, waiting is so important. It's a gift. It's a part of the process, the journey that I feel is often overlooked or not spoken on enough because most people don't see the beauty in waiting, right? I mean, just think about the things that you are waiting on now or that God is requiring your patience in now. Think about what God is requiring you to wait to do now. You get what I'm saying? Like, many of you like have reached out when I shared that I was going to have this podcast. Many of you were saying, "Oh yeah, I plan to do my podcast. I plan to do my podcast and I need to get back on my podcast." And it's just like, let this inspire you. But also understand that God has you exactly where you need to be, doing exactly what you need to do. So embrace the time that God is using to prepare you, taking you through the experiences to nurture you, to develop you, to grow you, so that when that time comes, you will be undeniable. You will be undeniable. I mean, do y'all see the gift in that? The time, the space, the time and space between where you are right now and where you want to be. This in between right here, this period is where God is really taking you step by step. And that's what we often overlook when we're looking at someone's highlights. Okay? When you're looking online, you're watching people highlight they're snapping a moment in time. They're just literally taking moments in time, snapping shots of it, compiling it together in the content, and then you seeing that and thinking, "Oh wow, everything's great in their life. Everything's amazing." Because people are only sharing their highlights. And then now you're using that and you're trying to weigh up where you are based off where they are. And it's like, no, that's not how this works. That's not how this works at all. You can't compete where you don't compare. And when you don't understand that individuality is a factor, that we each have our own unique journey and expression, that we all have our unique process, and those things are perfectly imperfect by design because we each contribute to the collective, to the group. to the community, to the whole, right? We each have a contribution to make. So if we all was at the same place at the same time doing the same thing, then how will we be able to sharpen one another? How will we be able to reference other parts of the journey that may not have been tapped into yet, right? Somebody got to do it. Somebody got to go to other parts of the thing because it's all going to work together. So everybody can't be doing the same thing at the same time. That's not how God designed us anyway. We all have our unique timing and our unique journey and our unique process, our unique makeup and design and everything. And when you don't think about that, when you don't calculate that, now that's how you can be distracted by things that you should not be distracted for. So we rebuke and bind up any distractions. Stay focused. Stay focused on minding your business and doing what you're supposed to do, right? Doing what you're called to do. And then you have to also calculate the element of time when it comes to waiting, because that's essentially what we are navigating is time. So when we think about time, we have to think about the fact that things take time. It's a process. So give yourself the time, the space that you need to grow. Because one thing I know for sure is that no one is requiring perfection. Well, I will speak for myself. I'm not requiring perfection. But what we are looking for is growth. Are we willing to grow? And we all know that growing, when we plant a seed, when a farmer plants a seed, we have to nurture it. We have to water it. We have to make sure the soil is right. We have to make sure the environment is right. We got to make sure all of these, there's a lot of steps before this seed becomes a flower, before the seed bears fruit, which means you got to put the time in. You got to put the time in. That's the only difference, is that people who are going after their dreams and living life in their highest potential is that they are putting in the work and they're putting in the time. That's it. And when you understand that you got to put in the time, you can't just say, oh, I want to do this. Oh, I want to be that. Oh, I want to do that. Okay, cool. That's how it starts. It starts out as a thought. It starts out as an idea, right? But then the next thing's next, right? We got to do, what's the next step? What's the next thing to get this rolling, right? What do I need to work on? Do I need to do some inner work, right? Do I need to, really do some shadow work? Do I need to do some mindset work? Do I need to what? Because most time the work is in you. It's within you. So once you start initiating those things and facing them and then going towards it, right? Taking action. Now you get to start seeing things move. Now you're getting to see the results. Now you see the manifestation happen. Guys, success is planned. Success is planned. It means that you are intentionally, deliberately, consistently, relentlessly working. Working. You're consistently working. And sometimes the work cannot be seen. See, this is what people don't talk about. Sometimes the work you're doing and the time that God is having you waiting is a work that is not tangible. Maybe it's emotional work. Maybe it's mindset work, right? Spiritual work. That's not always tangible. That's not something you can see with your eyes, but you can feel it. You know it's there. You know what you're doing when you're in your inner terrain. You're navigating the inner being, right? Not everybody can see the work you're doing on yourself or in yourself until the results start to show over time. And that's what people see. They're like, "Oh wow, I see the outcome of her growth, but nobody understood that you were 6 months in the making." Nobody understood that God really had you, praying or fasting and waiting and really crying and whatever else God is, you had to do to cleanse and release and clear, right? That's the part most people don't see. That's the part most people don't see. So don't get caught up in the illusions. Get real with reality. Because most times it's not even about the destination. Like people who have been in the game for a while, entrepreneurs, and just really been putting in the work. I mean, even people who also are not entrepreneurs, but people who have certain mindsets, they understand that, listen, it is not about the destination. Because most times when you reach a certain destination or when you arrive to the store or when you arrive to a certain place, guess what? That happened in a moment. That happened in a moment. And then now that you're there, you get what you need and then you move on to another moment. You get what I'm saying? So we don't even really, it's almost like there's a level where we don't even really get caught up in focusing on the destination no more. At least that's the level I'm at. I don't like, sure, if I'm planning a trip and, planning certain things that are definite and blah, 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 we understand that that's going to yield a certain result. However, how that journey of me getting to the trip and all that, like, those are things that we really got to navigate. That's the reality of it. But most times people will see, oh, look at her. She's at the beach. She made it to Aruba or she made it to Mexico or Jamaica, right? Like most people will see the result, but nobody thought about the planning that took place, the actions that took place, the steps that took place. while you were waiting to get to that trip, to make it to that destination. So in that period of waiting, when you book the trip and you got to wait out until the trip is here, what's taking place? Growth, movement, action, resting, planning, all of those things. So, I mean, you can really break this down into any situation. There is always going to be some period of waiting. Which is why this conversation is so important right now. Because it's about us knowing how to wait, having proper perspective while you're waiting, doing what must be done in that time, using your time wisely, understanding the time that you're in, the season that you're in, doing what must be done. Because we know how to wait. And waiting is a part of this. And so when you understand that your surrender to God's will and God's guidance, God's timing, that is a blessing. Because now you don't have to rush. It's a lot more peaceful. There's a lot more joy. You're not making as many mistakes. You're not as easily distracted because you know how to wait. And so that's the message that we wanted to bring forth today, to encourage you guys and inspire you guys in wherever you are right now, to have a level of acceptance and knowing that this is temporary and that God is always planning to prosper you. And that God has already ordered your steps and is guiding you. And now it's just as simple as you following the instructions, as you listening and developing that relationship with God and strengthening your mindset, building your resilience, strengthening your confidence and your courage to keep going, to keep going. So that's the message we have for today. And guys, I hope this really did bless you. I'm grateful for you all tuning in, listening in. And if this has been valuable to you in any way, leave a comment below. And you guys know where you can follow me on Instagram. It's at Drika Shine. Facebook, Drika Shine. And booking me for a growth session one-on-one is also linked on my website, drikashine.com. You can also book a hair appointment as well as order my products. We have our Drika Hair Growth Oil and a Goddess Magnetic Lashes. We have a Stay Shining Candle. We also have hair bundles So you name it, just check out our site. Everything is there. Also, subscribe to our email list so you can stay in touch and stay connected with any updates, news, and exclusive information. And as always, guys, stay blessed, stay shining. Until next time.